and welcome to the next episode of Mum Talk. I'm here with Sharon again, and we are going to film a video where we're going to talk about weaning. I'm going to talk about my experience of weaning with my daughter Rosalie, who is now 22 months old, and Mummy here is going to talk about her experience weaning me when I was little, if you can remember. How far? That's like nearly 30 years ago.
Yes, no.
Question number one is, when did you start weaning?
Well, I stopped breastfeeding when you were 3 months old. So then you had bottles and...
3 months old?
Yeah.
Huh.
Bottles and like porridge type things and Farley's rusks. And then just sort of introduced things from that point, really.
So did they have jars?
They did have jars, but I never used jars. I used to use packets that you just added water to.
Sounds so gross.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like oats so simple these days.
Yeah,
that
I
type of
suppose.
thing.
Oh, not like, I don't know, packing
Not
sauces. That's what I
savoury
imagine.
things.
Oh, so it's all sweet, was it?
Well, yeah, and then you'd have sort of mashed potato and just gravy.
Yeah.
And,
Normal food, really.
yeah. I didn't really buy jars at all.
That was the next question as well, actually. How did you introduce food to your baby?
You just sort of do it gradually.
With a spoon and a bowl and a spoon, just spoon it in, I guess.
Yeah.
So when did I start weaning? Rosalie was 4 months old when I started weaning, because... So how old do you reckon I was?
Probably about the same between, I don't know, between 4 and 6. It's a gradual thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because you were having bottles of milk from 3 months, that probably carried on longer
Yeah.
than...
So I got I was trying to wait till 6 months, and I kind of got bullied into it at Christmas. Do you remember? Like, Nana.
Oh, with the...
Nana made me feed her custard.
With the custard. Yeah,
They were like, give us some custard. Give us, because we all had Christmas dinner and she was just sat there, bless her, in her high chair. And they were like, give us some custard. And we got a little teaspoon. I didn't even have any bowls or spoons or anything, because I wasn't going to start it then. And she literally lapped it up, didn't she? She was like, sucked it off the spoon, and then that was that, really. Like, we started on Boxing Day. I think we gave her porridge, because you had some in the cupboard, didn't you? And then we went from there, just like a little taste every day.
Well, that's it. That's what you do, isn't it? It's never a specific date, and it doesn't need to be.
No.
You just try them with little different things, little whenever, and see what happens.
I use purees and pouches more now. She's older than when she was little. When I first started weaning, I made it all myself, didn't I? In the blender. So I used to make like, I didn't follow any recipes, so I would do like sweet potato and carrot, or I can't think of any more now. Kale and carrot. I gave her that one quite often, poor little thing. Broccoli and sweet potato, but I always used to just make them up and do whatever I sort of had in the fridge, and I just blend it all up together and then freeze it. I had like a little mould which I used to freeze it all in, and then I used to give her, it was probably about 2 tablespoons. They weren't very much, and she only used to have about, I used to give her 2 of those and 2 like sweeter ones, so fruit, and like a cube of custard, or 2 cubes of fruit or whatever. And yeah, she just used to eat those. So I didn't actually give her much food for a long time. She was probably starved. But she was still breastfeeding then. I breastfed till she was like 14 months old. So even when I was weaning her, she still like was breastfed, really. And then the feeds gradually reduced as she sort of ate more food. I'd give her like her breakfast or her lunch or her dinner, and then I would breastfeed her straight afterwards, so that if she didn't get enough in the food, she'd then get it from the breast milk, sort of thing. Oh, I also used to do a little bit of like baby-led weaning. It was mostly purees, but I would give her like things to pick up and hold as well, because I think when they're sat there, they get really bored, don't they? And you're trying to spoon feed it in. So I used to like put bits of food down for her to play with. Like at first of all, I used to give her like carrots, like batoned carrots that I'd cooked so they were like soft, and she could just munch on them. And then gradually it got to more harder things, bits of banana and stuff like that. I think that's a good tip, to always have something for them to play with, because they do get like bored of just sat there, I think. munching away,
spoon.
waiting for the next spoonful. The question is, how did you reduce the amount of milk? We're ahead of the game. So yeah, I just gradually used to, I think it was a conscious decision. Well, no, because breast milk, it was not a conscious, she just had less as she ate more. So I gradually reduced the amount I fed her. I think I would drop feeds. I think I did like 4. I always used to feed her directly after a meal, and then I used to feed her in the morning, then I used to feed her at night. So she used to have about 3 feeds, I think. No, 5 feeds a day. And then, yeah, I just sort of like I think I stopped the early morning one first, and I'd just give her one after breakfast. And the nighttime one we had for a long time.
That's
the last one.
That's the comfort one, isn't it? It's always the last to go.
So how did you reduce your milk if you were on bottles?
I don't know really. I suppose you...
I always think that's much harder in a way.
Yeah,
like,
well, it
to
is,
know
isn't
how
it?
much. Although you can Google it, because from a certain age they're supposed to have a certain amount, aren't they? But like obviously with breastfeeding you never know even how much they're having. You just have to like trust that they're getting enough. I don't know. It's pros and cons to both, isn't it?
I can't honestly remember how old you were when you stopped having them. Probably...
How did you know when to like drop one?
I think you just introduce other things until they just sort of fade away, don't they? I don't think it...
Can you remember when I stopped bottles completely? Because someone left a comment in my blog saying that, our last video actually, saying that they felt pressure to stop their baby having bottles at 12 months. And I just think that's quite early. Well, I suppose Rosalie, Nick thought I should stop breastfeeding at 12 months. She was quite big then. It was quite awkward.
The thing is with the bottles is they're the same as a dummy really. They're the same shape, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if their teeth are starting to come, then you should probably, I think that's the trigger. If their teeth are starting to come, you should probably try to avoid them using a teat of any description as much, and try to start them, using straws and other types of cup to get used to it. But see, you shouldn't feel pressured until you do whatever's best for you, I think.
Sharon says,
you do, don't you?
Gotta do what you gotta do. Things that went right. So what things went right with your weaning journey?
Well, you just feed your baby at the end of the day. I was hopeless at breastfeeding, so I can only remember the failures. And
That's the next question. You got to know with it.
I think.
I like chocolate mousse.
Yes, and you always had a healthy appetite. And you like lots of different things, so I think you can only regard that as a success that you would.
So what went right with me? Rosalie pretty much ate everything, didn't she?
Yeah,
she's always been really good, and like literally always finished her bowl. Like she's not so good now because she keeps getting distracted, but she would always eat everything, wouldn't she, on her plate? Like she's very good at like eating everything, unless I give her like loads. But
Which
yeah,
you do quite
I do,
a lot.
yeah. But most of the time she still eats it all.
Well, that's not always a good thing though, is it?
Why she weighs so much.
Yes.
Right, things that went wrong. So you think breastfeeding went wrong?
It didn't go wrong, I just wasn't any good at it. Some people are just not built for it.
I don't know though. I do think, I know what you're saying.
It's harder for some people than others, and if it's very hard for you, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. As long as you have a go, I think, if it lasts a week, if it lasts a month.
Yeah.
With Joe, it only lasted a month. With you, I persevered for 3 months, but it wasn't a nice experience.
But I don't know if that's because you stopped too soon, because it is horrible for a long time. It takes a long time to get good. That's the only thing I would say about breastfeeding.
I don't think you should worry about it.
No, you shouldn't.
If it's too much,
you've got to weigh it up, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. If it makes you unhappy,
it's not
then
worth
your
it
baby's
to
going
you.
to be unhappy.
Yeah. It does take a long time before it gets easy. I do think it's easier in the long run, but at first it is horrible and hideous, and your nipples will crack and bleed and hurt. What would you do differently?
I don't think you can answer that, because every baby's different. I think you have to follow the situation at the time. You can't plan ahead, because life will get in the way. You can't say, oh, I'm going to do this with my baby and I'm going to do that, because it depends what type of baby you have. You can't always do the same things with every baby.
Yes.
You have to adapt your mindset to suit.
I'm not very good at that.
No, you're not, but...
What would I do differently? I don't know really, I think it went quite well. I think I'd do the same.
I think you should, yes, I think it worked very well for you. Everything.
Yeah. I found it quite easy as well. Well, not easy, but as in with breastfeeding and weaning, I think when you start weaning your baby, the breastfeeding has kind of calmed down, hasn't it? And it doesn't hurt anymore. So I found the whole...
And the less you do it,
reducing the feed and increasing the food, I found that quite easy, because you didn't have to worry about dropping, like, you know, putting more, making up more formula or less formula. It was just, she just did it all by herself, didn't she? Because obviously she just took as much as she needed. So I found that a bit easier. Homemade, pouches, or a mixture. So at first I did homemade, but now I often give Rosalie a little pouch when we're out and about. Now she can suck it herself as well. I think that's when we started giving her more pouches, was when she could suck it from the tube herself. I don't know when that was.
It's just convenience, isn't it? It's not. That's not a way of life. That's just something you bung in a bag for convenience sake when you go out.
Even yogurts and things now that I normally... She's the whole spoon thing. She does do it because she eats her dinner with a spoon, but I don't know, she doesn't really like yogurts in a pot. I've tried to give them her and she hasn't. I think she gets bored of spooning. Whereas if you give it her in a tube, she'll eat it all. So what do you reckon about me? What did you do? Homemade, pouches, or mixture?
I never did homemade pouches.
No, I mean, we
had
homemade or pouches.
Or pouches. But you did homemade pouches, didn't you, in things?
Yeah, I guess
I didn't really do anything like that.
Yeah, but you just made normal food. You had mashed potato,
little like fromage fraise and things that they in pots and all the tubes. You had those. The long, you liked the fruit.
Sweet or savoury? So I had mostly sweet. You're saying?
No, what I'm saying is what I bought was mostly sweet because it was all like porridge based. Because the savoury ones were.
Gross.
I used to think they tasted foul. So
well, I
did try them, but
I've never even tried an Ella's Kitchen pouch or any of those. But I've like smelt others, and they smell like cat food or something. Like at least I gave Rosalie real food. That's what I found. Like I didn't give her anything I wouldn't eat myself. I also think you get them like used to a taste that isn't real. Like I know Annabelle Carmel, they have like strawberry and sweet potato and pepper or something. It was like really random, and I was like, your baby's never going to eat that in real life. I'm never going to make her that for dinner. Like, you're getting them used to a taste that she's not going to be able to, not going to eat in real life. So I kind of like gave her normal dinners from quite early on as well. Like I
think that's the way to go, really. And it's cheaper at the end of the day.
We ate sloppy food for quite a long time. It was like last summer, we basically didn't have any lettuce for the whole of the summer. Like normally we'd have salads, but we never had salads because obviously Rosalie couldn't eat it. First tastes. So Rosalie's was custard. Can you remember what my first taste was?
No, probably
porridge. Or Farley's rusk.
Could have been Farley's, yeah.
I was
dying to get the Farley's, so yeah, that probably
we all love Farley's rusk. I think we had them for breakfast.
Finish it up.
We all had them for breakfast till we were... Well, I probably was about 10. You probably had them as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So how old were you then? You would have been like... If I was 10...
40.
40. Do you reckon Nana had some as well?
Probably. I could eat one then.
This was
shrunk.
What, they used to be
bigger
of
them,
in the old days. So that's the end of our weaning video. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed Sharon and mine's experience of weaning our children. You, me, and me, Rosalie. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Say bye, Sharon!